Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. It's Monday again, which means I have another question of the week for you. This is the day where I pose a comic book related question, which you can answer in the comment section below. And then I turn the tables and you can ask me a question and I will answer it in the video next week. So this week it's about the news that maybe, because it's not been 100% confirmed, Marvel could be rebooting its universe come 2015. Now, I'm not going to ask you how you feel about it because, you know, some people are going to embrace it, some people are going to reject it, just like they did with the DC New 52. What I'm going to ask you is, if you had to reboot Marvel and its universe, how would you do it? What would you want to see happen? That's your question of the week. Now, I had a flurry of questions asked to me last week. By the way, thank you to everyone who answered their questions that I posted them last week. There were some wicked answers. I really enjoyed doing that, and maybe somewhere down the line we'll try that little experiment once again. I think everybody answered their questions. It was a little test really to see who was still watching, but this week there were some smashing questions. There's two particular ones that were kind of interconnected when I was thinking about them, and I'm going to leave them to last. However, we are going to kick off with Joshua Hayes, Bat Josh, who asked me, do you enjoy Brit comedian Ricky Gervais? No. Now, I know that this could have me kind of exiled from many a people's life, but I just find him tedious. I watched the first couple of episodes of The Office and I just found the joke got very tired very quickly. The idea that you've got a boss who's just this awkward, cringe-worthy guy was funny for a couple of episodes, but it was just like, it just keeps going on and on. It was more masterfully done, however, by John Cleese as Basil Fawlty in Fawlty Towers, and you felt some pathos for this hotel manager, owner. No matter how hard he tried, he always ended up being the guy at fault, ruining things, and you had that cringe-worthy element, but you felt sorry for him. The guy he plays, what is it, David Brent, I just think, and I'm putting this politely, you just think he's an idiot and he deserves everything that comes to him. So I'm not Ricky Gervais's #1 fan, I'm afraid. Mercy's Little Show asked me, have you ever bought a book solely on the cover and ended up enjoying it so much you're still reading it? And I have to say, no. The cover might entice me to the issue, but I will go and open the book up and look inside first and see if it's something I would like. The cover doesn't always represent what is on the inside, as we are well aware. However, I have at times bought a comic book purely for the cover. For example, the latest one I could think of was from a back issue haul where I found, what number is this? Elephant Men issue 43 with this Brandon Graham cover. He doesn't do the artwork inside, but I love his artwork and I just had to pick this up at least just for the cover. So to your question, no, but I will buy a cover purely for the cover. Derek Lucarelli asked me, which horror themed comic would you recommend I jump on? And I actually kind of struggled with this for a while because although kind of Image is doing, and the kind of recommendations I'm going to give you are actually all Image-based titles, but it does seem that Image is doing a lot of kind of horror themed comics right now. Not all of them am I buying, at least not in singles. And when I was looking over my comic book shelves, the only ones that I could think of that at least have kind of at least horror leanings were It's Finished, but you can get it in trade, is Scott Snyder's Severed, which takes place in the 1916. It's got that whole kind of oldie feel to it, and it has this kind of serial killer horror edge to it, which you might like. I was surprised. Manifest Destiny. This certainly has horror leanings, set in the 1800s. A kind of American army guys, I guess they are, go out and explore the kind of undiscovered American frontier and find some things that they may not have actually been expecting. So Manifest Destiny is very good. Again, another one that's finished but thoroughly enjoyed and kind of has that kind of occult leaning, veering on the horror, was of course Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips' Fatale. Really enjoyed that, but at the same time you have to kind of stick with it to get your fix of the horror. Finally, 4 single issues which you may want to jump on. The latest arc of 5 Ghosts, starting with issue 13, certainly has horror leanings. We're dealing with the kind of vampiric element of the 5 Ghosts universe. Barbier and Monaghan really kind of drawing on the kind of creepy, eerie, EC area of horror comics from the 60s and early 70s. So I would suggest, say, those 4. Hope that helps you out somewhat. Where are we here? Hazelnut Coffee, sorry, Hazel Coffee Nut. Sorry, man. I'll get there in the end. They asked, you mentioned a database for your comic book inventory. What do you use? It is comicbookdb.com, and literally I can just put the numbers of the comic books I have into its little field for entering your comics in. It gives you kind of like all the who wrote it, who coloured it, the year it was brought out. You can add on there if you want how much you paid for it when you got it, what kind of condition it's in. So that's the website. That's how I inventorise all my comics. Now the final 2, oh no, sorry, go on to the next one. Sherpanut asked me a flurry of questions. We'll begin with, if you moved to the US, where would you live and why? Ooh, the US is somewhere I've always wanted to visit. But if I had to go and live there, see, there's 2 places. One's not actually in America, one's in Canada, which is kind of American. For the US, I mean, it would be wonderful to live in New York, the kind of thriving metropolitan big city, but probably I would only like to visit there at the end of the day. I don't know why, but not so long ago, I still can't remember why I did this, but I was looking at websites of properties to buy in Canada. And I came across this property site, and it had all these wonderful houses that were kind of nestled within kind of woodlands and next to these gorgeous lakes that had kind of piers going down from the house to the lake. And they just looked so idyllic, so kind of tranquil, and I just thought, you know, in later years I would just love to settle down there. So those are my places I'd like to live, perhaps. He also asked, who would win in an arm wrestling match, Dr. Monkeybot or the Hulk's Big Toe? Without a doubt, the Hulk's Big Toe. He's northern. They're made of tougher, sterner stuff up there. Who would you rather narrate your life on film, Robin Leach or David Attenborough? I'm probably ashamed to say, but I don't know who Robin Leach is, and I forgot to kind of Google this person before I came on to do this video. But I probably would have said David Attenborough, or should I say Sir David Attenborough anyway. I don't think my life's particularly film-worthy, but at least he would add some gravitas to the situation. And finally... do most Brits prefer bidets to bum fodder? I don't quite understand this question. I presume the latter just means a regular toilet. And I think in Britain we're more used to regular toilets than bidets. Bizarre. Right, finally the two questions which I kind of had the same answer for, or it involved the same book, we will say. And that was the questions posed by Jess S and Jean-Paul Ace Peter. I'll start with Jean-Paul Ace Peter because his question is quite lengthy and Jess's is quite short. Jean-Paul Ace Peter asked and said, I attribute comics directly for the person I have become. How have comics impacted you and changed you? Is there a superhero villain or even writer, artist who has inspired you to change something about you and how you view the world? Now Jess S asked me, what is your favourite inspirational moment, quote from a comic, and why did it affect you? Well, I've mentioned this book so many times. It is the book that I would recommend above everything else that you should read at least once. It had a very big effect on me in so many ways, and it's a book that I continue to go back to, whether it's to read it in its entirety or whether it's just to read certain pages or just certain issues within its run. And I am of course talking about Day Tripper, Fabio Moon and Gabriel Barr's work. It's a book, it's about death, which sounds incredibly morbid, but for a book about death it is just so full of life, and it questions the meaning of death and what you do with your life. And there is a kind of part in this, and I'm going to try and read this. It always kind of chokes me up a little bit, but I've practiced and I think I've got to the point now where I can read this without choking. So it comes from book 9 within the 12 issue series. It was entitled Dream, and it goes like this. Life is like a book, son, and every book has an end. No matter how much you like that book, you will get to the last page and it will end. No book is complete without its end, and once you get there, only when you read the last words will you see how good the book is. It feels real. So that was the kind of my favourite kind of inspirational kind of passage that affected me the most. I read this probably a few months, maybe a bit longer, just before my father passed away, and it kind of cemented my thoughts about death in general anyway. The idea where I don't want people to kind of remember me for the day I die and kind of not celebrate it, not mourn it, but just let that day pass and be what it was. If you wanted to remember me, remember the life that I led, whether it was kind of fun, inspirational, boring, for want of a better word. However my life was led, I'd rather people remember me for those days rather than that one single day when I passed. There is so much in this book to take away and use kind of in your day-to-day life. It's kind of, it sounds cliched, it sounds trite, but you know, embracing your life, taking those opportunities, however risk worthy they may be, but just to grab life by the hands, use it all up because you only have the one, and don't get kind of stuck in this rut of kind of day-to-day 9-to-5 living. I can't say I always kind of live by that motto, that kind of ideology, but I do my darndest to do it. Like I said, whether you're just new to comics, whether you're a long time reader, whether you're not really into the kind of slice of life books, you're like into your superhero stuff, I would still wholeheartedly 100% recommend this book above anything else. Because I think whether you don't like it in its entirety, there will be some element in there that will appeal to you, you'll be able to take something away from it, and something positive. And on that note, it's the end of Question of the Week. Thank you for watching. Remember, question at the top of the video about the Marvel reboot, and oh, don't forget to ask me some questions for me to respond to next week. Until then, take care. Bye bye.